horror fans, once again, it is me, the Horror Meister Monty G. It's time to review my next highly anticipated horror film of the year, and that is The Conjuring. The Devil Made Me Do It. Now, before I begin my review, obviously you're wondering, Monty G, why do you have headsets on? Well, unfortunately, my neighbors decided today it's a block party day, and they're blasting music throughout on the block. So unfortunately, I don't want you guys listening to that crappy ass music that they're blasting out there. So unfortunately, hopefully these headsets and this microphone I'm wearing will block that out. So on with the review. Now, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It is a 2021 American supernatural film. It is the ninth film in the Conjuring universe. Now, this film was directed by Michael Chavez. It was written by David Leslie Johnson Goldberg. The film stars Patrick Wilson, Vera Farmiga, Ronari O'Connor, and John Noble. Yes, Walter is back. Now, in this movie, the Warrens investigate a murder that may be linked to demonic possession because, as the defendant says, the devil made me do it. Now, when it comes to horror franchises, everyone knows about the big three, Freddy, Michael, and Jason. While they are considered the most popular franchises in horror, the genre really hasn't had a universe similar and successful like the Marvel Cinematic Universe since the Universal Monsters. You know what I'm talking about? Not just like say we have like almost a whole bunch of Freddy films, or we have a whole bunch of Jason and Michael films, or we have like Freddy versus Jason. We don't actually have a universe of horror. You know, that's what I'm trying to say. No, I know Universal tried it with their Dark Universe, but we all know what an utter failure that was. Now that changed in 2013 when the supernatural horror film The Conjuring was released. Telling the story of one of the cases of paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, the success of that film would not only bring a sequel, but other films such as Annabelle, which has 3 films, and The Nun and The Curse of La Llorona, hence building the Conjuring universe. They also have other films in development right now, such as The Crooked Man, which you saw in The Conjuring 2, and an untitled sequel to The Nun. Even though a lot of people didn't like The Nun, the film made enough money that it warranted a sequel. So once again, the Conjuring universe is building up. Overall, the Conjuring universe has grossed over 1.9 billion worldwide, making it the second highest horror franchise, only second to Godzilla. So here we are with the ninth film in the franchise and the third overall film with The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. Now, this film is based on a 1981 court case in Connecticut where Ed and Lorraine Warren decides to help Arnie Johnson, who, after murdering his landlord Bruno Salles, claims that he was possessed by the devil. In other words, the devil made me kill him. Now, while the trial gained national headlines, being the first case where the defendant claims to be possessed by the demon, the film decides to take a different direction. You would think that actually would show the court case of what happened, but obviously the filmmakers and director Michael Chavez and David's script decided to take the film in a different direction. We get to see the Warrens investigate what really happened to Arnie, as we see in the beginning of the film, who was with the Warrens when they were trying to do an exorcism on David Gladson. That was his girlfriend's little brother. Now, while I do like this approach, it's a good thing and a not so good thing with this type of a movie, and I'll explain why. Now, the good thing, of course, is the acting of Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, as they are simply wonderful as Ed and Lorraine Warren. They have great chemistry together. You can tell how much they love each other, and that love really comes into play, especially in the third act of the movie. They just work so well together. We've come to know and grow this couple. And like I said before, Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga are just awesome. You really can't see this film or this series go any further if it was not for the acting of these two veterans actors. Now, unlike the first two movies, there's a mystery aspect in this one, and it does create some attention in their investigation, along with some funny lines and some moments that actually made me laugh. There's a couple of scenes in the picture. There's one scene where, while doing their investigation, the cop tries to get Lorraine to guess which knife that a suspect used, and Obviously, Ed doesn't like that because he doesn't want anyone explaining his wife's gifts. I thought that was a funny moment. There's another funny moment in the beginning of the picture. I won't say what it is, but I did like that aspect because the first time you actually get some funny moments in the film. So I do like that part of the film. Now, however, there are two issues that I do have with this film, and the first one, I'm pretty sure everyone else is going to ask this question: where in the world is the horror? Because there's none in this particular film. Now, unlike the first two films that were directed by horror legend James Wan, I believe that director Michael Chavez, who directed The Curse of La Llorona, unfortunately needs to take some lesson from James Wan when it comes to create horror in a horror film, because again, there's really no horror in this particular film. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some horror moments in the film, but it doesn't have the type of horror that we've seen in the first two films. Now, in both The Conjuring and The Conjuring 2, we had excellent horror moments, whether it was from Annabelle or Valak, the Nun, or from Janet Hodgson from the second film, or Carolyn Perrin from the first film. James Wan was able to create the type of atmosphere that you need to have, especially in a supernatural horror film. And unfortunately, seeing that Chavez doesn't have that ability, as Lala Roland didn't have it, and this film doesn't have it as well. He really needs to go back to school and learn from the master. We get the same type of jump scares that we see in other supernatural horror films, but there's just not enough tension and suspense that we saw in the first films in the series. And other films like Annabelle Creation or some parts of The Nun, we do get that. I mean, even Annabelle Comes Home has that supernatural tension and suspense that we need, but this film lacks that. The other issue I have with this film is the lack of character development of Arnie himself. What made the first two Conjuring films great was the character development with the families that the Warrens were helping. I mean, we get to know the parents in the first movie and the Hoggins in the second movie, but the audience doesn't get to know anything about Arnie. I mean, I'm sure I would like to know more about Arnie, the type of man that he was, but other than a flashback, David's script doesn't allow the character to grow, and that kind of hurts this particular film. If this universe is going to continue, and I'm pretty sure it will, unless they get a director that knows how to direct horror, I believe James Wan should remain as the director, and Chad and Carrie Haynes should remain as writers, as both Michael and David's efforts were a bit of a letdown for me. However, despite that fact, I actually still did enjoy the film, mainly due to Patrick O'Fara's performance. And hey, it is still The Conjuring. It's not a bad horror movie because I've seen plenty of bad supernatural horror films. It's still The Conjuring. And while it is the weakest of the three overall films, it is still better than the first Annabelle film, and it's way better than La Llorona. I will say this again: if I were to rank this particular film as far as the three Conjuring films, obviously this would be ranked third. But in the overall Conjuring universe, I would rank this definitely higher than La Llorona and definitely higher than the first Annabelle film. But like I said before, it lacks the type of horror that we expect to see in The Conjuring. And again, we don't really get that type of character development that we saw in the first two films. And then I believe if this series is going to continue, unless they get someone that knows how to put horror in horror and actually create a decent script where we can actually get the characters to shine just as much as Ed and Lorraine Warren shine in these films, you know, let James Wan continue to direct. Let the Chad brothers write these films because obviously, both again I said before, both Michael and David don't know how to write and direct a horror movie. So I'm going to give The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, 3 out of my 5 Bloody Gold coins. Yeah, someone gave it 3 out of my 5 Bloody Gold coins. It is still a nice horror film, mainly because of the performances of the lead actors and actresses, and it's still The Conjuring. Like I said before, it's still good. It's just that we expect it better because it is The Conjuring. You know, all the three overall films are excellent horror movies. This one's just good, but we expect it better. So right now, The Conjuring is also playing in theaters. It's also being shown on HBO Max because that's what Warner Brothers want to do for the whole slate of movies of 2021. If you have seen The Conjuring, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below, and did you enjoy it or did you thought this was a poor, weak imitation of The Conjuring, just like I thought it was. Also, make sure that you do like this video because it does help out with the YouTube algorithm. And if you're new here, please hit that subscriber button and ring that notification bell. That way you'll be notified anytime when I put a new video such as this one. Once again, my name is Lamont Smith, better known as the Horror Miser Monty G, and always remember that horror rules. I'll see you in my next video. I'm out.